Thanks for joining us today. Hello and welcome to Business Daily. I'm Lee. We have plenty on our plate today, so let's get started with a look at today's highlights. Korea is ranked as the second strongest economy among 13 emerging markets, but its GDP expansion lags far behind others. Tens of thousands of Chinese tourists are expected to flow into Korea as China's National Day holiday kicks off on Thursday. Will this give the struggling local tourism and retailer sectors their much-needed boost? Bleak growth projections from a number of economic institutes suggest that Korea's slowing expansion may persist for the time being. But at least one of the explanations behind its lackluster performance says the country is simply taking its course. Our Shin Se-min reports.
A report compiled by economists at Oxford University indicates that Korea is the second best equipped among 13 emerging markets to ride out a crisis following the Philippines should the global economy significantly worsen. But when it comes to economic growth, the country is likely in for a bumpy ride. According to the same report, Korea's GDP will expand the least behind Brazil and Russia this year, casting dark skies over its economy. Deepening concerns over the health of the Chinese economy that have been rattling emerging markets are especially more worrisome to Beijing's largest trade beneficiary, Korea. But already, multiple economic organizations have laid out bleak forecasts that the economy will grow less than 3%, brushing aside the government projection of 3.1%. Moody's Credit Rating Institute predicts a 2.5% growth, while Korea Economic Research Institute revised down its economic outlook to 2.4% this month. Experts say the stagnant growth, however, is a result of Korea's greater economic scale.
With the size of the Korean economy growing to resemble that of advanced countries, it is natural that growth slows. That's what we are seeing with the slowing growth in Korea.
Already, Korea is near on par with advanced countries in terms of foreign currency reserves, debt, and foreign assets, but in order to avoid the low growth trap, experts say it needs to find a breakthrough. Facing a growing disparity in growth outlooks between private institutes and the Korean government, market watchers are now turning to the Bank of Korea's upcoming forecast next month, with many expecting another downgrade from the current 2.8%. Shin Se-min, Business Daily.
Now, Korea's position in the World Economic Forum's report on global competitiveness has remained static for a second year in a row. Korea's macroeconomic environment garnered positive appraisement, but the nation's rigid financial and labor sectors continue to weigh down on its overall rankings. Our Son Jung-in has more.
Korea has placed 26th overall among 140 countries surveyed in the World Economic Forum's latest Global Competitiveness Index. The ranking is unchanged from last year. Korea ranked 29th in 2004 and rose to as high as 11th 3 years later. However, just as its entry into the top 10 was in sight, Korea's position tumbled to 24th in 2011. In this year's report, Korea saw its ranking in macroeconomic environment rise by 2 notches to 5th place, scoring high in annual inflation, country credit rating, and government budget balance. Asia's 4th largest economy also earned high marks for having a high education level, broadband internet subscriptions, and patent applications. In particular, due to deregulation efforts, the evaluation on starting businesses shot off from 32nd to 8th place. However, Korea's labor and financial markets are still falling behind, dragging the country's ranking down. Korea's cooperation between labor and management ranked bottom at 132nd, while soundness of banks ranked a lowly 113th. Transparency of government policymaking stood at 123rd, while efficacy of corporate boards was 120th, signaling the country's conglomerates are still largely controlled by certain families. Experts say the government must reform Korea's labor and financial sectors to improve business investments. Switzerland maintained its top position on the list, followed by Singapore and the United States. Japan was 6th, while China trailed in 28th place, unchanged from last year. 손정인, Business Daily.
With dozens of lawsuits filed in the U.S. and Canada against Volkswagen in the past few days, one has now also been filed against a company here in Korea. Two local Volkswagen and Audi owners are suing Volkswagen, Audi Volkswagen Korea, and local car dealers over the emissions rigging software. They're demanding full compensation for the vehicles, saying they would not have bought the cars had they known they did not meet emission standards. A slew of similar lawsuits are expected to follow. Meanwhile, Volkswagen has said it will begin sending recall information in the next few days to the owners of the 11 million cars affected worldwide. Well, today is the last day of September, and that means it's time to check in with round 2 of this year's duty-free wars. 4 conglomerates will go head-to-head for a license in the lucrative retail sector. On the defensive are Lotte and SK, with Shinsegae and new challenger Tusan on the offense. Our Eunice Kim tells us more.
Applications are in and the race is on. The dark horse this round, newcomer Tusan. The heavy industries giant has achieved retail success in its Dongdaemun shopping tower Tuta, popular notably among Chinese visitors. It has set aside 10 floors or 17,000 square meters of space for its duty-free ambitions.
I understand we are going for a win-win situation in an effort to revive the area.
Shinsegae is feeling the urgency after having fallen short in its summer bid, with its Busan outlet license set to expire mid-December.
We've applied for 3 in Seoul and 1 in Busan. We've submitted a well-thought-out proposal.
Incumbent duty-free king Lotte, which held 51% market share last year, is fighting to keep its crown. Also dealing with public backlash following a very public succession feud, the retail giant submitted its plans side by side its union leader, promising cooperation and job creation. Both of its Seoul branches face expiry in December. Up for grabs are 4 in-city licenses, 3 in Seoul and 1 in Busan. Korea Customs Service will study the proposals in October and announce the winning licensees in November. With Lotte on the defensive, it will compete with fellow conglomerates SK Networks, Tusan, and Shinsegae. Mid-size company fashion group Hyungji has also thrown its hat into the race in a bid to run a duty-free outlet in Busan. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
Korea and Russia mark 25 years of diplomatic ties today. With these ties, their economic partnership has grown enormously. But according to experts, it's been more about the volume, not the value. Our Kwon So-hwa has this report.
With the official Korea-Russia partnership beginning in 1990, the two have been steadily expanding their economic ties. Official data compiled since 1992 shows that trade up to last year jumped more than 130 times to almost $26 billion. That's an average annual growth rate of 25%. In 2014, Russia was Korea's 12th biggest export partner and 11th biggest import partner. For Russia, Korea was the 9th biggest importer, but things have been better when in 2006, Korea ranked 5th. Last year, many items shipped to Russia have posted negative growth, including Korea's top export items to the country, automobiles, medicines and medical supplies, and automotive parts.
On the whole, experts evaluate the quarter century as successful in terms of the amount of economic cooperation, but not too much when it comes to the value of that partnership.
When comparing the amount of imports and exports with Russia, the amount of investment is very small. Despite a large increase of Korean companies doing business in Russia, Russia has been only investing $190 million into Korea during the 25-year span.
At $2.2 billion, Korea's investment in Russia also accounted for just 0.4% of its total outbound investment. Apart from improving investment, analysts say trade items need to be distributed more effectively according to regions within Russia, and that a free trade agreement needs to be implemented to boost the bilateral partnership in the coming years. Kwon So-ah, Business Daily.
Many Chinese tourists will be making the short trip across the West Sea to Korea this week as Beijing's National Day holiday kicks off tomorrow. And Korean retailers are gearing up on events not to miss out on that extra visitor. For more on the topic, our Kim Min-ji joins us in the studio today. Hello, Min-ji.
Hi, Jiyoon. So it's one of China's biggest holidays, and more than 210,000 are expected to visit during the one-week period. Now, in fact, China's calendar has been packed with holidays recently, and some tourists are already in Korea following China's Mid-Autumn Festival just last weekend. And Korea's tourism industry hopes to get a boost after being hit hard by the MERS outbreak during summer. Now, experts say the number of tourists is expected to return to normal levels with the week-long break, providing a much-needed shot in the arm for local retailers. Take a look. It's that time of the year again when Chinese tourists flock to Korea. China's week-long National Day holiday kicks off on October 1st, and roughly 210,000 are expected to arrive this time around. That's more than a 30% increase from last year and marks a significant recovery from the peak of the MERS outbreak in June and July. As China's Mid-Autumn Festival was just last weekend, some are already here enjoying the holiday spirit.
I'm here over the break. There's so much to eat and so many nice things to buy for friends. I especially like the clothes and cosmetics.
The restaurants and accommodations are very good. Everything is so convenient.
Korea has so many places to hang out and eat at. It's also very clean, and the people are very nice.
And to take full advantage of the influx of visitors, the local retail industry is holding events to lure big spenders. Most department stores and duty-free chains will be showering tourists to spend a certain amount with gift vouchers and other freebies.
In our stores nationwide, we are holding lotteries for Chinese shoppers, where they can win up to $40,000 worth of goods. We're also operating Chinese kiosks to make their stay here much more convenient.
On top of this, concerts, firework displays, and events at cultural sites are all lined up to make their stay extra enjoyable. Customized programs are also being offered to meet the needs of each individual.
For the 20s and 30s, the focus is on Hallyu, beauty and cosmetics, while for those travelling in groups, it's on visiting cultural places, not just in Seoul, but across the nation.
So now all geared up and ready to go. How much money will this generate? Last year, a single Chinese tourist spent $2,000 on average. That figure, multiplied by the number of expected visitors, amounts to $420 million. And that figure could go up even higher as a majority of those who travel are top-tier consumers. But some experts say even if tourists shell out cash, it doesn't necessarily mean good news. For retailers, yes, but for the tourism industry overall, not so much.
Korea needs to change its positioning. Now it's focused on cosmetics and plastic surgery. A majority of Chinese tourists who come to Korea are very rich and are willing to spend. But they say they don't have much to do other than shopping.
Experts say the majority of Chinese tourists that come to Korea don't make revisits, adding that Korea needs to build on its tourism infrastructure as it still lacks accommodations and cultural assets to give visitors more reason to return.
So, Min-ji, I guess it's safe to say that the number of Chinese tourists to Korea has returned to normal levels.
Yes, that's right. Just last month, retailers were saying about 80% of their sales levels had recovered from before the MERS outbreak. And with the holiday season this week, the nation's retail industries and tourism sector is expected to get a significant boost. Also, the Korea Grand Sale has been ongoing, and tomorrow the Korean version of Black Friday event kicks off. So it's probably going to induce more spending.
All right, well, but then one of the problems that we've been hearing is that these Chinese tourists don't really revisit the country.
That's right. Less than 30% have been returning or making a second visit during the last 3 years. And as we discussed, the main reason is because Korea is putting too much emphasis on shopping. Now, in fact, many Chinese tourists have said that they don't have much other to do than spending their money here. And it's said to make up more than half of the money they spend. Now, experts say this will create problems down the road as trips become more of a one-time event. And with similar products now widely available in other countries, they say a halt in this boom could spell trouble for Korea.
Then are there any areas that Korea can focus on in order to make that better?
Well, one area that experts say is that Korea should invest in the leisure sector. They say Korea should develop itself into a healing hub. Yeah, and just to highlight its potential, 39,000 foreigners, a majority of them Chinese, visited Korea's southernmost island of Jeju just over the Chuseok break, and that's just 3 days. And data shows that Chinese tourists account for nearly 80 to 90% of foreign visitors to Jeju these days as they come to take a break from their daily grind. So experts say if Korea promotes more destinations like Jeju, more tourists will come again just even for the weekend. And like Korea, China is a rapidly aging population. So taking the sheer size of its population, it could be a boon for Korea.
So I guess in the longer term, Korea will need to find more substantial tourism products aside from shopping.
That's right.
Okay, thank you so much for coming in today, Minji.
My pleasure.
And that wraps it up for today. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back tomorrow with more, so don't forget to tune in then. Thanks for watching and see you soon.